Afternoon. Thanks everyone for staying back until the end of the session. I saw about 40 participants still around. Thank you so much. So my last presentation here is to share with you the Camper X. I think this is a code name we have been using to create a new cyber physical camper initiative. And the whole purpose is to center around the human-centric, learning, both for the instructor, in this case would be for teaching, as well as student for learning. So the high level objective is to really create a cyber physical environment. I think there are a lot of talks in the past, half a day, focusing on how we can create environment both student can learn in the physical as well as cyberspace. And my understanding, in fact, from NACHA and some colleagues here is that, in fact, as far as instructor is concerned, this is the hardest way to manage two groups of students in a very two different pedagogy. Obviously, these are enormous opportunity for us because the cyberspace we can really go beyond the physical space of our campus and going even overseas beyond school to industry, so on and so forth. And a more important part of this cyber physical concept is that we hope that we can build in a very fast and high-end learning analytics system. And Prof. Ko from SUSS mentioned that they also build this learning analytic to assist students. So at the end of the day, the student will be able to at least know their performance or maybe see how actually their learning journey like in SUSS. But more importantly for SUTD, our learning analytic is to provide a toolbox to the student so that they realize that they can use it to enhance their learning. And obviously, they can turn on certain function. In this case, could be intervention, so that they can actually improve their learning, improve the intimacy along the way. And more importantly, I think colleagues this morning also talked about, or just saw someone presented gamification, which is another level of learning intimacy. So how we can actually use that to improve the personalized learning. So at the end of the day, you realize that we want to bring the fun and the joy of learning back to the student. And the last part here is to create connectivity. When you say create connectivity, meaning that in the case where right now COVID-19, students are separated, perhaps maybe because of this social distancing or one reason or another because of the border restriction of the country. But can we actually use this cyber physical campus so that student they can actually still interact, student can still interact with the instructor, and instructor can even interact with each other. And hopefully the experience will go beyond the current Zoom or Team platform. So at the end of the day, our goal here is very simple. We want to create an environment such that it's fun, safe, and also very joyful for learning. And we think that at the end of the day, this whole concept here don't just apply to maybe campus itself for undergrad student, graduate student, can even go beyond the current, maybe the work and learn concept that we have been developing with industry. In fact, Ministry of Education is very keen to pursue this degree program, meaning that students can work while they are studying and vice versa. I think the previous talk also talked about maybe a new way of learning is actually learn from work, and from there enhance their basic concept and go back and reiterate that process. Could be even involving learning from failure. But at the end of the day, I think this morning keynote speaker also said that the lifelong learning is going to be, for everyone, is going to be about 50, 60 years. So I think the whole journey of learning, even you step out of university, after your undergrad or graduate study, should continue. So we hope that this new form of learning in the cyber physical that we are going to propose will also enhance lifelong learning. So if you go back to the top three boxes there, so literally we realize that today we have a lot of data. And data could be from student themselves, could be from instructor, could be from the digitized material. But I think using design thinking, what I call innovation approach, we have a methodology, maybe in fact, SUTD is well positioned itself to provide a different kind of learning, I would say, platform using big data concept so that we can create maybe more personalized learning. If needed, we can even give the toolbox to the student. Could be an apps so they can have intervention as and when needed. And more importantly, I think our whole this personalized even intervention would be real time and not just simply individual. We are thinking that we can even apply to custom team-based learning. What does that mean? Because our students have to work on a lot of design project, team-based discussion. So we hope that this can be applied to those team-based platform. And more importantly, I think on the left-hand side, at the end of the day, we start to introduce a lot of new concept, new idea, new technology. There would be opportunity for us to go back to study more in terms of learning of science of learning. I think this morning, Professor Lee mentioned many opportunity. And one opportunity I can see is really if AI really being used to enable learning better, to improve the joy of learning, what would be the real implication? And what is the interaction between student in the cyberspace with physical space, and within the cyberspace, within the physical space, so on and so forth. And I think all these are opportunity for us to pursue science for learning. So with that, we build a concept map. So we have to, I have to honest that this concept map was built from a very bottom up or maybe even top down, very, I would say, crude discussion. And we knew that what we want, but we actually asked ourselves, at the end of the day, how does this system going to be different compared to other, I would say, online learning platforms? I think a lot of different platforms have been presented today. Some of them is more focused on technology. Some of them is focused on more on the student or even faculty. But at the end of the day, I think we want to focus on human-centric learning system, both for instructor as well as a student. So the centerpiece there, you can see enhanced learning here. We want to make sure that element 5, which is the latest element we added, it has actually very well versed and well covered data protection. So what does it mean? We want to be able to capture student information, instructor information, could be real time, could be offline, and this could be video, this could be audio, this could be even text, this could be even other maybe I would say personal behavior. But at the end of the day, I think we need to be very careful that our edutech system has to be well protected in terms of data governance. And in fact, we want to make sure that whatever data we want to use, these are really well protected and only allow people can access that. And I think that will give the student, the instructor, or even the TA assurance that the data will not be misused by a third party. More importantly, with that concept in mind, we nail down to 4 sub-elements. Element 1, you can see on the top left-hand corner, is focusing on maybe learning anything and learning science. Really, at the end of the day, we want to create a very personalized learning, custom team-based learning, so that we can actually go deep in and ensure that the learning objective, the learning outcome are met. On the right-hand side, there is actually the cyber-physical learning part, meaning that we try to introduce the learner from the cyberspace. In fact, the instructor can be in the cyberspace as well. So meaning that this instructor could be from overseas, could be from industry, teaching the cyberspace to the physical student. And on the other hand, student in the cyberspace can also interact. Our question next is that how to improve the intimacy. So the learning intimacy is one of the key aspects. I think a lot of people are talking, you don't learn for the sake of learning. You really have to make sure that the fun of learning is coming back. Whether it's through gamification or maybe the game design, at this point in time, we are not sure, but we think that this is a challenging part. Can we also use the technology to enhance the learning? If yes, then element 3 come into the picture. Are we going to expect students to put on heavy goggles like those you see in the AR, VR and wear it out throughout the whole maybe 2 hours of lesson? Or we want to make the technology invisible, meaning just a smart glass, where students don't feel they are being putting on a lot of technological tools such that they have to actually bear with it throughout the entire lesson. So the socialization of the student with the technology, and in fact for both the student in cyber and physical space with the technology, will be very important. So you can see one element 1, 2, 3 are interlinked, but they are critically important. We did a digital survey, and not many actually past research or I would say pedagogy development or innovation really focus on all these key aspects. So I have to say that now, if you put all this together, then the question next is that how to make the learning really real, really fun in a real environment. So the technology latency will be one of the key consideration. That's why element 4 comes to picture, and we think that we need to leverage on maybe the Wi-Fi 6 or even the 5G, which I think we have already committed. Get the permission from IMDA to have a private network here. So this is something that we are very pleased that the development so far work towards to make element 1, 2, 3, and 5, 3, 4, 5 comes together. At the end of the day, you look at whole jigsaw puzzle here, you piece them together, it's really actually to extend the learning reality in a very personalized or custom team-based learning, such that the cyber-physical learning experience will not be compromised in terms of learning intimacy and learning objective. So with that, we have put in place a few platforms. I'm not going into detail, but the team here consists of faculty and staff from different departments. And colleagues here, if you are interested, whether you are SUTD staff or you're colleague from outside SUTD or even from industry or overseas, if you think that you are able to participate and collaborate with us, feel free to let us know. So over here is a concept that we developed. I think it's not new, where we think that when we collect data from students using sensor network or maybe any using any sensor, could be even eye tracker, we need to go through certain data processing. In this case, could be maybe data analytics system, such that at the end of the day, this data collected, anonymized, there's no actually identifier. We are able to actually provide feedback to instructor, to student, both in real time and in maybe offline. So what does that mean? So if you work in the class, the student is actually interacting with each other through a lesson learned, could be talking about mathematics, physics. We're hoping that our learning analytics system, through the sensor network, to the eye tracker, to the different sensor, we're able to actually look at the student actually behavior. And if needed, we will actually start to kicking the intervention, could be gamification, could be drawing certain attention by sending a signal to the student through Fitbit, so on and so forth, to draw his attention back to the system. So this output here is actually very much that to create a signal to, I would say, feedback to student or to faculty, or maybe to create certain intervention. At the end of the day, we are very careful that all these mechanisms we put in place, the focus is still the human-centric design for instructor and for student. So we want to provide a means and a toolbox, if I may say, such that student, if they already know the topics very well, they just want to come in and listen, they can set actually the threshold level very, very high, so they won't be intervened. But if they think that they want to learn more and they want to have a good attention to the lesson, they can always actually set the threshold very low, so it would actually kick in the feedback system as soon as possible if they need it. There are few ways we can talk about this sensing network. It could be even using eye tracking or maybe webcam. Queen is working on that, and we can even have smart glasses here. And all these are certain way that we want to track the students, I would say, performance in the class. By the end of the day, all the data privacy, student information will not be actually captured. And what does it mean? Our system will be something like this. We already actually did a pilot run in the Fed Lab, such that we are able to use a smart camera to track student actually interaction in the Fed Lab during COVID-19 social distancing. And I learned from Eng Hong, we built in certain sensor network here. Each of these, what I call, whether it's a skeleton in different color representing a student. And these are real signal collected. I can see that the coordinate here showing that the data we are tracking, and the last coordinate in Z is showing that how many times a group of students actually violated the social distancing on less than 1 meter. The rest could be something else. So you can see that practically using this AI based network and simple analytics system, we're able to collect data that we think is within our expectation. The next phase is obviously try to incorporate different kind of sensor network, could be eye tracker, smart camera, smart glasses into our network so that we can actually track the student performance if they want to. And shown here, I think it's just a video just to illustrate how things are going to work. So this is just a simple video clip to illustrate what we intend to do. Obviously, everything is under development. So I realized that just now Tato talked about games design. If you can contribute to this project, that'd be great. I'd be happy to work with you. So colleagues, if you are listening to my presentation, and you think that there are expertise that you have that we would like to invite you to actually come and maybe speak to me and see how you can contribute to this university level project. Element 2, as I mentioned, is intimacy. Intimacy is very hard to define. At this point in time, we're just hoping that we can restore the fun and the joy of learning. So what does it mean? We want to go beyond really the Zoom. If the student doesn't turn on the camera to interact, what are we going to do? Now, can we have some mechanism to excite her, maybe through gamification, through other means, so that now we can bring back the joy and the intimacy of learning among the peers, between instructor and student, and even for peer in the cyberspace, for peer in the physical space, and between the cyber physical space. And I think Mohan has shown this video. I'm just want to tell you that we are in the process of using such robot, for telepresent, what I call interaction. And we learned from actually literature survey that the presence of robot not only serve to be telepresent to provide interaction, but it's also a social presence, meaning that the student in the physical space can maybe relate themselves. There's someone actually in the cyberspace through the robot interacting with them. So you bring back certain, I would say, social interaction between the cyber and physical student. So we yet to conduct proper study, but we think that tabletop robot, robot of different application, like Mohan mentioned, could be those, physically present, able to move around the different space of the classroom to interact with students. I think that'd be great. And we want to make this robot also very human-centric, and they're able to detect, presence of maybe, I would say, obstacle, in fact, the presence of human being, how to interact with them, by even doing more personalized the kind of interaction. So this will be something that we are quite confident that through Mohan's team we can make it work. The last part here, I think we also mentioned just briefly, is actually how to ensure that when you go into a lab, the student do not need to behave like a robot or put on a lot of high-tech gadgets or technological tools there. We want to make sure that whatever 5G, whatever signal, whatever toolbox, whatever edutech equipment we put in there, hopefully, is invisible to the student. It's not going to create a lot of physical load to the student. And there's opportunity for us to really study, how the student interact with the technology and how the faculty going to interact technology, and also the presence of technology. This is a robot, how it affect the student learning experience and ability. There was some feedback from upper year students sharing with us that their concern is really with the presence of robot next to me, how the robot going to actually affect his learning ability, or will that cause any disruption, from her perspective, during a lesson. So these are very practical thing that we need to take into account. We don't have solution, but I think through proper study, we felt that we can actually learn from the design thinking, design innovation approach, and from there we can fine tune our system. The last two part here, I think I just mentioned to you, we already got the permission to build in a high-speed network, 5G network, and Tony Quack through the FCP, the Future Comms program, we are already got the ban, from the IMDA. So we already going to set it up towards the end of this year, and hopefully by early next year, our 5G network will be available for us to conduct the Campus X. And Element 5, I just mentioned, we started this actually much earlier, just to make sure that all the data we collect and we store are all protected. So putting all together, this is actually the concept map with all the cartoon put in place. But at the end of the day, I think really we need to have a living lab to showcase, and we already identified a living lab called Think Tank 2425. This is a building to level 5, 200 meters square, and we are going to put in 5G network. We are going to put in different new learning space facility and equipment there. We have a quite big team, about 40 faculty and staff working on that, and different people working on different projects. And hopefully at the end of the day, whatever we discuss and share will allow us to create a new, I would say, cyber physical learning platform called Campus X that enhance our human-to-human learning. Prof. Kun mentioned that we are the Suma Park, not 8 Suma Park Road, but that is just a physical location. In a cyber location, we can extend this to almost every place in the world, beyond Singapore. And hopefully, we can use this platform to support not just learning, to support our, I would say, very active, vibrant fifth row activity between student, between institution here, but also between here and maybe student overseas. But we also think that this can be extended to lifelong learning. So students do not need to travel from their office or home to come to SUT to learn, but they can use this cyber physical to learn in a more intimate and maybe even fun way. And more importantly, we think that this cyber physical concept here, Campus X, will allow students to do even design project, even fifth row, even capstone, so that the physical presence may not be really necessary. Whether you can do it with a twin, digital twin, or maybe even a more, I would say, unique platform, that can be always discussed. But new opportunity ahead, I think a lot of colleagues have been sharing, in the new, I would say, cyber physical space. I think these are new skill set and new, actually knowledge required by students. So we hope that by giving our students early exposure, they are more ready, to actually embark into the in the future world. It could be metaverse or maybe new form of learning. And more importantly, I think this will be the future learning, I would say, environment they have to live with. I think early, what I call experience and early knowledge given to them will be given them a good head start. And obviously, in the cyber space, you can always make a lot of mistakes, by making failure and things that may not be as expensive as a physical prototype. So that's another way to look at how to learn fast, how to fail fast and learn fast. So timeline, I'm inviting everyone who are interested, whether they are local or overseas partner. We are going to do quite, I would say, extensive pilot run very soon. We are building a basic system. I'm trying to do a lot of integration with my colleagues at SUTD. And we are looking for partner right now, really aggressively to move into different space, including maybe even NIE collaborator who can help us to do learning science, what I call experiment, more on the research part. And just now we have colleagues talking about new way of learning, in the cyber physical, in the metaverse, the kind of concepts, and also maybe even using game, how to actually enhance the learning experience. And hopefully we can do some demonstration to our VIP, could be our board member as well, MOE leadership by PERMSET. And there's a conference called National Technology Enhanced Learning Conference hosted by SUTD next year, about November. We're hoping they use maybe this platform to demonstrate to our minister when he's here. So I want to conclude my talk by just telling you that our phase 1 here is something from now to about next summer. We are looking for actually idea using our basic learning analytics system they're going to build, which is going to be ready quite soon, so that our coursework or course material could be in a fresh mode like math, physics, design thinking, design innovation, can help us to take advantage of this concept here and putting the I would say human-centric learning, human-centric teaching that is by the student and by instructor as a centerpiece, so that we can build a system that to prove that this is worthwhile to pursue. And the short-term plan, obviously, to get this system demonstrated. The long-term plan is to do more research, to incorporate AI and other aspects of learning to make this system more robust, so that it can be extended to different domain areas, not just content-based or design-based subject, can be even critic-based like HAS. And here, I think it's a cartoon prepared by my colleagues here. And I thought it's quite informative, how to actually combine everything together so that we can move into a cyberspace for the student to learn and effectively for the instructor to teach effectively as well. With this, I just want to have an open invitation to everyone. And this is something we presented to EDB, I think last week. So there are a lot of opportunities. So feel free to talk to us. And we have quite sizable funding support under HGP S2 phase 2. There's actually under the phase 2 of the SUTD growth plan. So feel free to approach me and maybe my colleagues who will be able to share with you more. So with that, I think I thank you for your attention, and I keep it within 30 minutes. Thank you, Nacha.